What we got? Lady Again Sports. All right, so I'm here at the hall, or the rink. No, I'm not in jail. I'm at the rink. It's just there's bars on the window. I don't know if you guys can see how much snow's in front of the gate there. See where the, yeah, over here, kind of thinking of this right around here. It's like you can't get into the rink. It's been snowing so much today, and I think there's like freezing rain and stuff like that, so it's pretty crappy. Hopefully you can hear me well over the roaring heat, which I'll just shut off. Now. All right. Got my scepter, a Canadian scepter. It looks like a hockey stick. And I got a bunch of notes here. It's been quite a busy New Year's type of thing for stuff going on. Like, it's actually much more crazier than we would anticipate. I know a lot of people, like, after the election of Donald Trump, were like, oh, well, that's it, man, war averted. No, it's like they're trying to double down and really get the damn thing started. So anyway, I got so much to cover here. I got like almost 3 pages. Like, wow. So let's just jump into this. 1 of 3 school children are homeless outside of Silicon Valley, just so you know. So for Obama's great recovery, we're going to be, right now they're trying to get the Dow to 20,000 to make it look like there's a huge recovery with Obama and stuff like that. But I think people aren't buying it. It's just, as we go, you'll see. Global gold and silver confiscation. It looks like the EU is trying to find ways to do it. We know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in India. What the EU is doing is basically border confiscation. So you come in, it used to be like if you had more than 10,000 bucks on you, they would confiscate some of that. I think they did that here in Canada too. If you have to declare, if you have more than 10 grand on you, you have to declare it, or more than 5 grand. Whatever it is, you'll have to look at your border service to see what it is. But the thing is that they're lowering. There's no limit now. It's like if they think that you're related to terrorists or whatever, you're going to be. It's like you give us that money, or else we're going to call you a terrorist. So how could it possibly go wrong? But it's government. This is government mandate. So this is basically the beginning of like gold confiscation. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But they have to do that anyway. We're not going to have a 2018 Rothschild one world currency unless I can confiscate gold and silver and anything that can put you outside the system, because they really want that, like David Rockefeller said, to chip every human being like cattle. Very scary. And cashless societies, they're really pushing that. So all you hear is driverless cars and cashless societies on the news. That's all you hear all year, or all last year. And where does that come from? Davos. I mean, that's what they were talking at Davos. Whatever they talk about at Davos, you'll see on the media. Why? Because the media is owned. The people that go there, the Bilderbergers and all that stuff, and I go to Davos, Switzerland, when they do the world elites all there. That's all the new world order people. That's all the people that own everything. The Fortune 5. That is the system, right? China's got its aircraft carrier on patrol in the Pacific. So it's starting to go beyond sea trials now. It's starting to do stuff. The other thing to keep in mind is, I know this kind of has nothing to do with nothing, but when we get into the fake news, the average person spends 10 hours a day on some sort of social media, whether it's work at a computer, watching TV, or Facebook. All 10 hours a day average. 24 hours a day. That's a lot. Now, I myself probably spend 9 hours a day doing all the stuff I do. To make a 1-hour video, I do several hours of research, right? That type of thing. The Iranians are talking about making an aircraft carrier. Now, they did this weird thing where they did a wooden mock-up one a couple of years back. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. But it looks like, yeah, they're talking about that now. Again, the Iranians are starting to get a little bit more bold. Well, my biggest fear with Trump is how he's, like, I think maybe what the revamp is, if Trump is not the real deal, which it's hard to say. I know there's some people later, they're like, no, I'm not buying it for a second. He's part of the system. He's controlled opposition. And that is very highly likely. We'll only know after the 20th when he's inaugurated. It's never what they say, it's what do they do, right? So, like Obama, he said a lot of things, but he did the total opposite. And my thing is that Israel wants to go to war with Iran. They can't get Syria to fall. So it's like, okay, well, we need another way to go to war with Iran, and we'll come back to Syria later. And I think Trump might be the way to do it, because I think either Trump is, I'm not saying he's a stupid guy, but I'm pretty sure because of his support for Israel, and there's no doubt about that, he supports Israel. he might be duped into, or willingly accomplished, we'll never know, to going to defend Israel. With all the, what I call the beginning of the Israeli freakout now is starting to happen. Oh my God, it's unbelievable what's going on over there. But anyway, yeah, there's also a 5-year high in police officer deaths in the States. So that's, you can thank George Soros for that with Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. Even though police shootings are actually at an all-time low of shooting civilians, and you're more likely to get killed if you're a white guy than you are a black guy. Even if you make up per capita, it's still kind of, if you look at the crime statistics, who commits more crime? The more crime you commit, the more likely you are to get shot by a cop, so to speak. If you take that into the, no, you're way more likely to get shot as a white guy. I know that pisses a lot of people off, but that's what the facts are. You can call it statistical spin if you want, but at the end of the day, 2,300 is higher than 1,100. So that's the last decade. Typically about 45 people a year get shot unarmed in the States. Maybe 500-600 people get shot by police officers every year in the States, typically. But the amount of people that die is a lot less. So, you know, whatever, you can divide out those numbers and go look at them for yourself. Putin won't retaliate again against Obama's sanctions. Now, this is kind of one of those funny things. And this is something that you gotta watch. The Russians will do this all the time. And again, it's one of those kind of chess moves that just, it's like, okay, we think Obama's going to put sanctions on us. So let's go out there and say, anything they do, we're going to retaliate against. Okay, so then Obama comes out, he does his sanctions at the last minute. Oh, no, we're not going to do nothing. You know what I mean? And so Obama goes all the way, but now he looks like a total ass because the Russians, they're not responding in kind. Again, like I said, Putin's in this weird, and the Russian government is in this weird predicament where all they have to do to make the U.S. look bad is tell the truth, or just not play the game. And the Russians and the Chinese have been very good at not getting, it's amazing how we're not at war, like a hot war yet. But you're seeing the system, Obama's doubling down. They're really, really nervous. They're really nervous. They're trying to get a war going with, or something going with Russia. They have to, because if Trump is the real deal, my indication that Trump might be the real deal, but not for the reasons you think. Is he, again, remember I always talk about that bloody chair at the top? Is he just in the other part of the New World Order that's just trying to, you know, say, okay, well, this group of the New World Orders had the reins for this long, we want it now. Is it just mobs fighting? We'll only know. It depends on how much the people suffer after. But the indications are that Trump is going to do the right things by people. But, again, remains to be seen. The CIA is talking about attacks on Trump, you know, from John Brennan. Basically hinting at it. I'm not saying that he's going to come out and we're going to do attacks on Trump, but he's hinting at it. So, I mean, the CIA is pretty much the ones that killed Kennedy. So, would they kill Trump? Well, they're kind of in that predicament. If they did, it would be suicide for themselves because the amount of agents that would go rogue and start killing off these bad agents, which would be the, you know, like the complete releasing of the hellhounds, as I call them. Better turn the heat back on again. That's a possibility. That is a very strong possibility. And the thing is that if that were to happen, again, I think John Brennan, because he knows as soon as Trump is inaugurated, he's fired, but he's also going to be on the hook with Hillary Clinton. I mean, again, when Clinton goes down, that's why I think they're going to kill Hillary Clinton very early in 2017. Now, Cliff High was saying that she would just disappear after the election, and she kind of has. We don't hear from her anymore. Probably for a lot of reasons. Number one, licking the wounds. You hear her chirp from time to time, but I think they're really, okay, we got to get out of Dodge now because if, you know, Trump has given them the out, so to speak, that, oh, no, I'm not going to go after them. But Trump is going to have to go after the Clintons. But he could be just saying that just to kind of put their guard down, or, again, if he's in on the system, but he can't do that. Like even though Obama's going to pardon Hillary Clinton, Trump can go after Obama. He's not going to pardon Obama. At least I don't think so, unless he has already. Like I just don't see that in the cards. So he can go after. If he's going to go after. I think it comes on day 2 or 3. You're just going to hear announcements of all kinds of. Okay, we're going after this person, and shortly after, Hillary Clinton will never be alive to testify. They will. She's an old woman. She's frail. She's sick. We know she's sick. They're going to knock her off. They have to because she's the type of psychopath that she'd spill the beans on everybody. So dead people tell no tales. That's my take on it. I'm not making a request. I'm just saying, you know, considering who we're talking about the banksters, we're talking about Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, all them guys. all these, the Federal Reserve, the wars, the legal wars, and regime changes, all backed by Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Soros, Kissinger, Brzezinski, and many, many more that are known. Yeah. Again, watch for mass suicides of politicians, judges, lawyers, bankers. I think 2017 is going to be just way over the top of that. Putin did a New Year's Eve basically talking about, yes, we've been through a lot of struggles, we're moving towards this, towards that. Kind of the normal stuff, but very oriented towards, we're going to wait and see what Trump does kind of thing. We're hopeful and we're optimistic. But basically talking about, the tensions are still high in the world. So, you can go check that out too. In Malmo, Sweden, there looked like a fireworks battle out there. I don't know if it was migrants or not. You never know. I don't know. But most likely. We know about more migrants are going to come up. Also, China is, those 4 island bases that they're building in the Spratly Islands. They're still going strong on that. So, again, like I said, China's going to fight an island hopping war. They're going to conquer right up to Guam and maybe even possibly Hawaii and as far down as Australia, if they get into it. Everything that they're working on has everything to do with an island hopping war. Their Navy is going to be a blue water Navy. They've got the aircraft carriers, stuff like that. But all their amphibious vehicles, the new, again, don't be afraid to watch some of my older World War III updates so you understand what's going on. But, all these amphibious vehicles for island invasion. And of course, their new thing now is getting transport, heavy lift like the AN-225s. They're going to build a fleet of those. Wow. Those things, they call them the aluminum cloud because the wings are so, it's the largest aircraft ever built. Like, it's a 6-engine heavy lift aircraft. This thing's just ginormous. It came to Ottawa Airport about 2 years ago from Ukraine. I wish I would have got a chance to see it. I don't know what it would have been picking up, probably military supplies, I would imagine. But, the thing's just monstrous, right? And the Chinese are going to build a whole bunch of them. So that almost makes that kind of, where you've heard me say before, that Red Dawn style invasion probably could never happen. With the Chinese or the Russians. The Russians do have a lot more heavy lift aircraft. They don't have enough, but now the Chinese are going to be, these are going to be 1,000-man paratrooper aircraft. You build 500 of those. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I don't know how many they're going to build, but, like the Chinese, they can mass produce everything. Should have brought the U-Hawk stick like that. So, very, very interesting. And then, of course, the largest hovercrafts that they're going to build, they're going to be building those. Food stamps in the United States. 10.7 million, over 44 million people on food stamps. But in 1 year under Obama, or in 8 years under Obama, 10.7 million people on food stamps. Disaster, complete disaster. Again, where's that recovery he talks about all the time, right? Trump is talking about being the guy who is going to be in charge of all external arms deals. Basically, instead of selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, this guy, that guy, ISIS, whoever, Trump's going to be the final deal maker. And it looks like he's really going after Lockheed Martin and stuff like that for a lot of people, again, the F-35 is a black budget project. It's a money pit so that when your screwdriver costs $300 and you can't track all the money, it's because the F-35 is a make-work project to be a front for the real stuff that they're working on, whatever it is they're working on. That's my theory on it. So if Trump cracks down on that, these black budget projects, which should not exist, period. That's such a black hole, and that's where, again, these 10.7 million people on food stamps, you could probably pay these people, make a make-work project with that money for them. You know what I mean? Like, it's at least get some value out of it. 1,000 migrants, basically in Spain, between the Spain and Moroccan border. They're throwing tantrums there and attacking the truck drivers, lorry drivers. We call them tractor trailers here, but lorry drivers, whatever, over there. So there's that going on, and then it just goes and goes and goes. And I guess I'll skip down a bit more, because I think, in Poland there, I'll just bring it up now. In Poland, there was a lorry driver killed in France. That was a Polish driver, and the beginning of the xenophobic attacks are starting, the real ones, not the fake ones that they're putting out there, of people pulling off some girls' niqab and hijab and stuff like that. No, they're burning down kebab shops. Two kebab shops were burnt down in Poland, and this is in response to the Polish guy getting killed by the migrants over there. So, like I said, and again, if you want to call me racist, bigot, whatever, I can't warn you anymore. If you are a minority in Europe within 2 to 4 years, it's quickening, it might be even less than that. Within 2 to 4 years, it will be a dangerous place for you to live. You are going to be beat up by skinheads, neo-Nazis, like the real white supremacists. Because they don't exist right now. There's some of them out there, sure. But they don't exist as a group yet. But they're now, again, that penguin off the iceberg that I talk about all the time. One jumps off, they all jump off. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. All Muslims are terrorists, all white people are racist, all blacks are criminals, etc. That stuff comes into play. It does. I'm not saying those are facts, I'm saying the reactionary of that turns into that. Meaning, somebody gets killed or raped in Germany or France or Britain, you might see right-wing, so-called right-wing groups, which are really going to be upper nationalists. Like I talked about that spear for the 10th Crusade, your Crusaders are starting to group. So now they're burning down kebab shops. They'll be attacking mosques. They'll be, these things do happen. But that frequency is going to go over the table, especially Angela Merkel, which right now the statistics says she's probably going to win again. So war it is then. It's that's good. That's just going to work. Oh wow! Again, 2017, the year of the bazaar. You know what I mean? Another big concern is that over there in Iraq, where there's a nuclear-powered dam in Mosul at great risk. It's the 4th largest in the Middle East, and they're worried about it because ISIS is around Mosul and they can't go in there to maintain this damn reactor. And of course, the thing's going to melt down if they can't. And it's there should not be nuclear power in the Middle East. Period. They don't have the ability to take care of this stuff. And when things go awry, anybody that's going to throw this is where what you call him, Thunderfoot. A guy works for a nuclear power plant. So, I'll show you all the statistics how safe nuclear power is. Yeah, but just look at when it goes wrong. He's right about those statistics. But when it goes wrong, we're all screwed for 20,000 years. You know what I mean? So you just can't have nuclear power in the Middle East. What they're also worried about is if ISIS is able to overtake this dam, they could use that material to make dirty bombs. That's the worry. So the goal is to basically isolate that dam and to get the right personnel in there to, I say just turn off the reactor. People will be without power, but shut it down while you can. Remove the stuff until it's safe to do so. Right? That's my thing. But of course, no, they're not going to do that. Oh, we can't go without power. But if that thing melts down, you all die. You know what I mean? That's yeah. New Year's Eve, just so you know, about 2.8 billion hangovers on New Year's Eve. I was probably in that statistic. I talked about Polish drivers. Okay, so ISIS claims the New York, they couldn't even wait to they couldn't even wait till, after the ringing of the New Year to start the terrorist attacks. But they're taking claim as for the New Year's Eve Istanbul terrorist attack, blew up a bar, killed 35 people. Some people are saying no, that's probably the U.S. And again, with Turkey, we see all this flip-flopping with Turkey. That could be some of the things going on. We don't know. But ISIS, if it blows up, they'll claim it just to, for reputation's sake. So whether it's true or not, but something to keep an eye on. Ministry of Truth. The Soviet-style Ministry of Truth in the States is HR 5181. I don't know what they're calling it. Some sort of Transparency Act. It's under the NDA, which always takes away liberty and freedom. But this thing is the first step of persecution of not whistleblowers, but alternative news. They really want to go after that. So hopefully Trump will change that. RT is banned from military meetings, so anytime the military has a conference or whatever, they will not let RT media in there at all. Again, yes, RT is the Russian propaganda machine, but they are pretty factual on what they do. They do a good job. Again, they're in a position where all they have to do to make the U.S. look bad is tell the truth. And again, I think most people are seeing that. So RT, there you go. That's your censorship. They want guys like Alex Jones, RT, and some other people like that out of there, and then they'll work their way down. So, for I think the next 2 years, Google and Facebook, YouTube and stuff like that, will still have the reign because they've got all the money and funding and George Soros funding and stuff like that around it. But I think at the end of the day, they lose out because the amount of competition that's going to be popping up. Now, when they crack down on the competition, say, no. Remember, because under Obama, he handed the keys over to the United Nations. The United Nations is no longer the Wild West anymore. It's now a public utility, meaning they will not allow people to open up competition. That's how government kind of works, if you haven't noticed, which will create revolts. Remember, the CIA did a study years ago. I can't refer to the study number or whatever. I just remember hearing about it. And it was a bunch of television offices did this. And they found the best thing about the internet was if people bitch on the internet, they don't take to the streets. So you take the internet away, everybody's going to the streets. And you have George Soros, I cannot believe George Soros, calling Donald Trump a Nazi. A man who worked for the Nazis, who stole property from Jews and said, why, it wasn't difficult at all, I quite rather enjoyed it. This is pretty much exact words. A guy who does that, that's what he does for a living. He destroys countries, he destroys economies. Anywhere George Soros money goes, death and destruction follows. Has the gall to say that Putin is anti-freedom of speech, and yeah, because he shut down all the George Soros-funded NGOs. George Soros is the real Prime Minister of Canada. If you watch Parliament enough, they refer, what call him, the guy ahead of John McClellan. Can't stand the guy. I can't stand the guy. Our good friend George Soros is helping us with the refugee thing. And Agenda 20, United Nations Agenda 2030, and Agenda and Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership and migrant crisis. That's all they care about in Parliament right now. What's happening to the Canadian economy is, like I said again, Trudeau's third year. He could possibly start secession movements in Canada. I think it would probably happen more in the West than it will in the East. But it's when he fails the NATOs. That's when I think you're going to see real freakouts. Yeah. Because our economy, we're starting to hit our 2008 collapse now. Canada was the last country to go into the 2008 collapse recession, and the first one out. And we only hit a recession. We didn't hit a depression. Like right now, the Italian banks are pretty much insolvent again, needing bailouts. Well, they can't function. These things, they have to let them go. And the thing is they won't let it go, even after referendums where the Italians want to separate. The Greeks they passed their referendum to separate a couple of years back too. And you've got the UK saying, yeah, Brexit. And you know what? They're not doing it. They're not going to do it. So bloody revolt is going to be there's no doubt about that. Like, these people are just going to freak out. Eric Braverman, 67 days missing. This guy, there's a couple of theories going out there. I don't know anything about this guy other than he is one of the guys at the top of the Clinton Foundation, and with that, probably has with the Podesta emails, this guy comes up, and of course, he's either dead or he's the Hellhounds have him. You've heard me refer to the Hellhounds, call them spooks with a conscience, patriots. Law enforcement, military, kind of doing secret, because again, John Brennan is not going to allow, or the Director Domi over there at the FBI, they're not going to allow investigations of these people. So I think other agents have gone rogue. They're getting the evidence. They're hiding their witnesses. So again, the amount of people that keep dropping dead around the Clintons is unbelievable. They're the biggest and worst mob criminal family in human history. There's just everything about them is bad. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye about him. But I don't think he comes out until after the day of the testimonies against Clinton. Now, when they get Clinton, they have to kill her before she can even. Why? That's what the mob does. They kill anybody that can testify. They always do that. That's my take on it. So they're gonna make it look like an accident. It's like, oh, well, look at that. 2 days before Clinton testifies, she dies. Oh, Bill slipped and had an accident. Oh, whatever. And then I guess Chelsea Clinton would be next, because I can't imagine any of them not having information. But anyway, Trump's tweet about pertaining, I guess, to Pizzagate. He didn't talking about the mass pedophile rings. Goes these world elites doing all this stuff is just horrendous. Something along that lines. Quick trial, death penalty. God, I hope he makes good on that one. I hope he makes good on that one. I talked about the EU barter or gold stuff that they're going to take. Venezuela. Right now, I think on my last report, I told you that like one Venezuelan dollar. I forget what they call the dollar. What's it called? Anyway, their $1 is. It takes 40,000 of those to make $1 US. Something like an ounce of silver buys you weeks worth of food and stuff like that. Heard of them, people basically eating their pets, even rumors of cannibalism, but it's to the point where people are giving their children away because they're too poor to feed them. That can happen here, yes it can. That's why I put food away. The United Nations bashing Trump again. Trump's retaliation. Yeah, you guys are going to be fired. I hope so. But there's a double-edged sword on that one too. There's a catch-22. If the United States gets out of the United Nations, then they can do. If Donald Trump becomes a dictator and wants to do regime change anywhere he wants, then they don't have to. They can go anywhere they want. In other words, when Israel says, under the Samson option, we want to kill 35 Americans to the one Israeli killing Iranians. That's what the Samson option is. So Trump, if he's going to get us into a war, I think he's going to get us into a war with Iran or China on behalf of Israel. It's always on behalf of Israel. Got more troops moving to the Russian borders. And Gerald Celente, basically they did a hit piece on him. And they basically took out like GeraldCelente.com or something like that, and somebody bought the domain, and they put up a whole bunch of false information pretending to be him, and making him say all kinds of, I don't know what kind of stuff because I never saw it, but this is from Gerald Celente himself. He went to court to fight this. They're targeting his name. That's literally fake news. That is not me. That is somebody else impersonating me, which is illegal. And they shot him down. They won't remove it. That is the Ministry of Truth for you. That's how the propaganda is going to move. So, yeah. That said, the Israeli freakout. Okay, Cliff High, whether he gets interviewed by Greg Hunter from time to time, an interesting character. He was talking about, he says, this is going to be the year of the Israeli freakout. What do we see pretty much the first morning of Netanyahu pretty much declaring war on, maybe not quite so boldly, but kind of crypto declaring war on New Zealand. Like, who the hell declares war on New Zealand because you didn't vote the way they wanted you to? That's the way the Israelis are. That's their government is like that. Maybe it's not all Israeli people, fine, whatever. But that's why we need to completely not be involved with Israel. Because at the end of the day, all wars are Israeli wars, all wars are bankers' wars. I know some people don't like me saying that, but that's why we're doing it. Like, I can't take you 99% of the information you hear and then forget to tell you that major detail, because that's the linchpin that holds it together. I'm not saying there isn't warring factions. I'm not saying George Soros and Kissinger are still pro-Israel. They're probably not. Soros does seem to be against Israel. But again, it's that one bloody chair at the top. So it's just this Zionist group against that Zionist group or whatever. They'll eat their own children. That's the kind of people these people are. And war and destruction, like, for example, Israel always tries to get the U.S. to fight the wars. We know by Mossad agents spilling the beans that, yes, they were instrumental to Mossad generals last year, or the beginning of last year, end of 2014, I can't remember. But anyway, again, don't be afraid to go over some of my older World War III updates. Admitted, yes, they went to jail for this, for admitting that, yeah, we created ISIS. We created this group, this proxy group, these so-called moderate rebels. No, they're not moderate rebels. And we have all these agents that were in Aleppo amongst the ISIS, the al-Nusra guys. And, I mean, al-Baghdadi, John McCain's best friend, there are pictures together. You know what I mean? Like, it's openly admitted. It's openly admitted. So yeah, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Israel's, with the Greater Israel Project, you wouldn't have ISIS, you wouldn't have the refugee crisis and all that. And at the top of every one of these groups, you got 1,100 rabbis in the states there saying, yeah, we need more mass immigration of these refugees and stuff like that. You've got 14 prominent Jewish groups, ADL, AIPAC, all them. Out there, more migrants, everywhere but Israel, of course, when Israel is the closest country for Syrian refugees and probably the safest country for them to go to. Nobody goes there. They don't take in one. So, wonder about that. But something I said, as Syria stabilizes, the surrounding areas will be more destabilized. I don't know about Iraq, because Iraq is working with the Iranians. But I believe Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Israel are going to see some ridiculous things happen to them this year. Hence the Israeli freakout will try to bring us to war. Now, if Trump is so pro-Israel, that could have been the plan all along. We'll just get Israel put into such an attack mode that, okay, well, ISIS is now attacking Israel, so the whole U.S. military goes in there. Samson option allows for every one Israeli that gets killed in battle, they're allowed to kill 35 Americans. So in other words, there's no limit. They will sacrifice. So if you are in the U.S. Army, or pretty much any army that, any country that's, even here in Canada, chances are you're going to be fighting on behalf of the Israelis within a year or two, openly. So it's not going to be covert anymore. So they're not, because the proxy army failed. The ISIS proxy army failed. So that means, sure enough, they got to get boots on the ground to fight the Iranians somehow. And of course, if the Americans go there, which they're already in Iraq and stuff like that, and with the Kurds, and we've got Canadian soldiers with the Kurds and stuff like that, we're fighting on behalf of Israel. That's what it is. They're not going to tell you that. Now, the Israelis, what they're so mad about is they want to build, I forget how many, 318 apartment buildings over the Green Line, which is in the Palestinian area. And the Israelis are like, yeah, but we've offered them a two-state solution forever and a day. But you have to understand, in 1948, that was a Palestinian country. You know what I mean? Like that was, or debatable. Some people say, no, it was only later on. I woke up one morning, at first I was an Arab, and then I woke up and I was a Palestinian. Okay, so there's a lot of dirty politics. No one's going to doubt that. And I'm not saying it's every Israeli, but what I'm saying is their plan is going to lead to more death and destruction. So the only way out is really non-interventionist, meaning, the Israelis pissed off every country around them by doing attacks on them. I'm all for Israel defending itself, but when it does preemptive strikes here and there and everywhere, people are going to retaliate. And you reap what you sow. So do we die for the Israelis? I know the biblical people will do it because, they got that. And there's a lot of Christians, they cannot separate the Israeli government from the biblical Israel. And because of that, whatever Israel says, they say, now, I'm not saying every Christian is like that, but Zionist Christians, that's why they're doing what they're doing. So not all Zionists are Jews, but a lot of them are Christians as well. And it is such an important part of what we're seeing. So it's not just about the oil, it's not just about the banks, it's not just about the resources. It's about a lot of other things. It's also about balkanizing the Middle East so that no one nation can rise up against Israel. That's the Greater Israel Project. That's what John Kerry was talking about, how they're going to break up the Middle East into these little tribal regions. It's not going to work. The Iranians ain't going to go for it. I think if anything, the Iranians are going to sweep the area with the Syrians and the Iraqis, and they're going to control everything. They're the power rising. And the window to take out Iran, and again, it doesn't mean I'm pro-Iranian, and I hate it when people do that. Well, if you're anti these guys, you bash Israel, it's because you're for no. I don't want to have anything to do with the Middle East. Let them figure it out themselves. When they get tired of killing each other, they'll stop. They just, they hold grudges for a couple of thousand years, maybe a couple of thousand years they'll stop killing each other. The best thing we can do, stop arming them. Because again, these countries, even Iran, they really aren't that wealthy to the point where if you stop backing them and could get the Russians to stop backing them and the Chinese to stop backing them, and even if the Russians and the Chinese back them a bit, they don't give them enough weapons that they can keep it going for years and years and years. Because even Russia has its limits, right? So that's the thing. All the weapons, again, these ISIS guys, they're either the luckiest jihadist group that's ever existed in history, or they're backed by the West. Which, there's just so much omission of backed by the West that it's so shameful. But anyway, that's my take on it. I know I Israel bash and I US bash, I bash everybody. But if that's what is going on, that's what needs to be said. You can't just say, well, I support up to this. No, the death and destruction is from these plans. And if you listen to Obama, you listen to Kerry, you listen to all, that's what they're talking about. This is exactly the problem that we have. It is the Greater Israel Project. That's what keeps the wars going. It's not for peace. And there's some people, okay, maybe they believe in Bible prophecy to the point where they believe in Bible prophecy right to the point of they're trying to force the hand, whatever, to make the apocalypse and all that. That is a possibility too. It's not what I believe, it's what others might believe. Which is a scary thought, but, radical begets radical. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Thanks that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourselves, be true to others. Always do the right thing, and have yourselves a great day, Good day, hi, and welcome. What do you got? Playing again sports. Alright, so I'm here at the hall, or the rink. No, I'm not in jail, I'm at the rink, it's just there's bars on the window. I don't know if you guys can see how much snow's in front of the gate there. See what the... yeah, over here, kind of thinking right around here. It's like you can't get into the rink. It's been snowing so much today, and I think there's like freezing rain and stuff like that, so it's pretty crappy. Hopefully you can hear me well over the roaring heat, which I'll just shut off. For now. All right. scepter, it looks like a hockey stick. And I got a bunch of notes here. It's been quite a busy New Year's type of thing for stuff going on. Like, it's actually much more crazier than we would anticipate. I know a lot of people, like, after the election of Donald Trump, were like, oh, well, that's it, man, war averted. No, it's like they're trying to double down and really get the damn thing started. So anyway, I got so much to cover here. I got like almost 3 pages. Like, wow. So let's just jump into this. 1 of 3 school children are homeless outside of Silicon Valley, just so you know. So for Obama's great recovery, we're going to be, right now they're trying to get the Dow to 20,000 to make it look like there's a huge recovery with Obama and stuff like that. But I think people aren't buying it. It's just, as we go, you'll see. Global gold and silver confiscation. It looks like the EU is trying to find ways to do it. We know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in India. What the EU is doing is basically border confiscation. So you come in, it used to be like if you had more than 10,000 bucks on you, they would confiscate something. I think they did that here in Canada too. If you have to declare, if you have more than 10 grand on you, you have to declare it, or more than 5 grand, whatever it is. You'll have to look at your border service to see what it is. But the thing is that they're lowering it. There's no limit now. It's like, if they think that you're related to terrorists or whatever, you're going to be, it's like, you give us that money or else we're going to call you a terrorist. So how could it possibly go wrong? But it's government, this is government mandate, so this is, basically the beginning of like gold confiscation. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, but they have to do that anyway. We're not going to have a 2018 Rothschild one world currency unless they can confiscate gold and silver and anything that can put you outside the system, because they really want that, like David Rockefeller said, to chip every human being like cattle. Very scary. And cashless societies, they're really pushing that. So all you hear is driverless cars and cashless societies on the news. It's all you hear all year, or all last year. And where does that come from? Davos. I mean, that's what they were talking at Davos. Whatever they talk about at Davos, you'll see on the media. Why? Because the media is owned. The people that go there, the Bilderbergers and all that stuff, and I go to Davos, Switzerland, when they do the world elites all there, that's all the new world order people. That's all the people that own everything, the Fortune 5. That is the system, right? China's got its aircraft carrier on patrol in the Pacific. So it's starting to go beyond sea trials now. It's starting to do stuff. The other thing to keep in mind is, I know this kind of has nothing to do with nothing, but when we get into the fake news, the average person spends 10 hours a day on some sort of social media, whether it's work at a computer, watching TV, or Facebook. Call it 10 hours a day average. 24 hours a day, that's a lot. Now, I myself probably spend 9 hours a day doing all the stuff I do. To make a 1 hour video, I do several hours of research, right? That type of thing. The Iranians are talking about making an aircraft carrier. Now, they did this weird thing where they did a wooden mock-up one a couple of years back. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. But it looks like, yeah, they're talking about that now. Again, the Iranians are starting to get a little bit more bold. Well, my biggest fear with Trump is how he's, like, I think maybe what the revamp is, if Trump is not the real deal, which it's hard to say. I know there's some people later that are like, oh, I'm not buying it for a second. He's part of the system. He's controlled opposition. And that is very highly likely. We'll only know after the 20th when he's inaugurated. It's never what they say, it's what do they do, right? So, like Obama, he said a lot of things, but he did the total opposite. And my thing is that Israel wants to go to war with Iran. They can't get Syria to fall. So it's like, okay, well, we need another way to go to war with Iran, and we'll come back to Syria later. And I think Trump might be the way to do it, because I think either Trump is, I'm not saying he's a stupid guy, but I'm pretty sure because of his support for Israel, and there's no doubt about that, he supports Israel. He might be duped